What's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint, back at you with another recent reads. Just got done reading the Fantastic Four Omnibus by Mark Waid and Mike WIERINGO, so stay tuned. Alright guys, so I feel like I've been slacking on the Marvel reading, man. It's a lot of DC Omnibus, a lot of deluxe editions, some manga. So I really wanted to jump into a Marvel title. This was a newer book, and I've never read the material. So I knocked out the Fantastic Four Omnibus, Mark Waid, Mike WIERINGO, and it was alright. That's kind of how I feel about this run. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It wasn't like a slog to read it. But I'll talk about some of the things I liked and, didn't really care for about the run. First of all, Mike WIERINGO's art, it kind of reminds me of like Ed McGuinness. It's like very thick, dark black lines, like digitized coloring. It reminded me very like late 90s, early 2000s. It's like early 2000s run. So I guess maybe a bit cartoony. Like I remember a scene showing Sue Richards' shoe. It looked like a Sketcher, like an oversized shoe, big 1999 Skechers or whatever. But it was okay. I mean, I think he did really good stuff with The Thing, with Mr. Fantastic. Wasn't really a big fan of how he drew Torch, though. But the art was still decent. At first, when I was reading the first arc, I did not think I was going to like this at all. Keep in mind, this is, almost a 20-year-old storyline, so give Mark Waid, cut him some slack on that. But it's kind of like happy-go-lucky. They kind of parallel reality with the comic book versions of themselves in the beginning because it's kind of like a reboot, and they the Fantastic Four have income, right? They have patents, they sell merch in order to fund the Baxter building. So they have like a PR rep, and they're like, Fantastic Four is about family. It's not about superheroes. It's they're more adventurers and explorers. So it's kind of like in real life, but in the comics, in their store and all that kind of stuff too. So they kind of try to set the tone with that. And then early on, it jumps into one of my favorite arcs. I think it's my favorite arc in the book, the Doctor Doom stuff, man. The Doctor Doom arc and the Galactus arc at the end were my favorite parts. They're the highlights of the book. And then, I was thinking about what I was going to say for this review. That's kind of what makes Fantastic Four great, man. It's their rogues gallery. People always talk about Batman or Spider-Man, but Fantastic Four kind of set the tone for like that expanded universe. They paved the way for the Marvel Cosmic Universe, and then villains like Doom, like Galactus, their alliances with Black Panther, with the Inhumans, with the Skrulls, with the Kree. That's really what makes Fantastic Four great. Their at-home family vibe, I mean, it's okay, but that's not my favorite part of the book. The kids are young in this book. Franklin is really young. He doesn't really show any powers. Valerie is a baby, so they're not really doing much. This is not a Fantastic Four book that I would recommend. Like, hey, listen, you need to read the Mark Waid Fantastic Four. For me, it's still the Hickman run, and Val and Franklin are dope as hell in that run. But I guess I just like a more serious tone, and this one is a little bit more lighthearted, although there are some things I'll talk about in a little spoiler section at the end that are a little bit more serious tone, a little bit more of a darker tone. This is the run where Doom, he scars Reed's face. He disfigures his face. That's what I was trying to say. He disfigures his face, and it kind of messes with his mind, and he goes a little bit dark. And I'll leave it at that. We'll talk about spoilers at the end. The Galactus story, though, had a really good origin retelling for Galactus and kind of his original, who he originally was, Gallon, which is funny because I think that was like a pop quiz question in one of our recent live shows. The book itself is good. I mean, it has... this is like the 1998 volume. I guess it's issue 60 through 70, and then it got renumbered to 500 through 524, picking up from the original volume numbers. We'll take a look at some of the... We will do the sky view, but just to give you guys an idea of what the book looks like. Let me flip through here and see what other arcs there were that I liked. There was a two issue Spider-Man arc, which I didn't care for. I didn't feel like Spider-Man. Thing's dialogue is kind of cringeworthy sometimes, man. He still has the same dialogue from the 60s. What a revolt in development, and it's clobbering time, and Yancey Street. Like, the Thing is the same thing from the beginning. There's an overarching story about Sue giving Johnny more responsibility and making him like the CFO of Fantastic Four Incorporated, and everyone thinks he's going to mess it up, but you kind of have a feeling like he's going to do the right thing or whatever, and he does, so no big deal there. The Doom stuff is crazy. That's what I'm looking at right now. So Doom, he goes through a little bit of a metamorphosis through this book. He pulls a Thanos Gomorrah. He sacrifices the one person that he ever loved and absorbs her essence, and he taps into the more magic, mystic arts of his power set. Yeah, so that arc is pretty long now that I'm flipping through here. It's definitely the highlight of the book, and it comes pretty quick too, man. This was also done around the time, I believe, the first Fantastic Four movies were being released, and you even get, like, switching of power sets a couple of times and stuff like that. There's this other story arc, I think it's called Dysfunctional or something like that, with the Wizard. Hated that arc. Hated it. With Hydro Man, and that was just terrible. Yeah. So, let's go ahead and we'll flip through. We'll look at the artwork, and we'll talk a little bit more of the stories. And then, remember, stay tuned for after, and we'll talk some spoilers. All right, so here's the cover of the Dust Jacket, which you guys have seen. It's got the white spine. Thing is on the spine. And the back had a $100 cover price. Was 50% off when it came out on in-stock trades. It's probably like 42% off right now. The actual hardcover, it's kind of just the same images as the Dust Jacket. Yeah. Let's take a look at what's on the front here. Introduction by Ralph Macchio. I didn't read it. Yeah, so I guess this is like the PR guy like I was talking about their image or whatever. So this is pretty much the way that the art is all the way through. As you can see, it's a little bit cartoony. You definitely get that early 2000s vibe. And this is how Torch looks throughout. I'm not really a fan of that look, like I said, but it doesn't really hurt the art. Yeah, I guess Franklin does express... No, I don't know if that's his powers or if that's Doom. Yeah, I think that was Doom messing with him. Oh, this was terrible. This math equation, Reed Richards from some pocket dimension. Didn't like that. But then I believe right after that we get into the Doom arc. Here it goes. So you got Doom is going around to all these like psychics and fortune tellers, and he's trying to find the love of his life that he left behind to pursue science. I like old school Doom, man. A lot of Thing and Torch pranking each other and stuff. You know, I feel bad for the family because, like, especially Doom. Doom will straight always attack Reed's kids and his wife. It's like, come on, man. This is pretty cool. So Reed's forced to learn magic, which he doesn't believe in. And, you know, Doctor Strange tries to help him out, but he needs to kind of learn what Doom has learned in order to take him on. Yeah, so Franklin gets traumatized. He gets sent Doom sends him to hell, which is like, well, that's what I'm saying, right? He sends him to hell, or a dimension that's like hell, and like Thing and Torch are too late to save him, and it kind of really just traumatizes him, man. I think Alicia ends up talking him down. She's always kind of like, she's the blind woman that is Thing's ex-girlfriend. He goes disfigured face Reed. This whole Latveria storyline I'll talk about in spoilers. He goes that Spider-Man crossover. I mean, he's notoriously been like a sidekick to Torch or vice versa. The wizard stuff, whack. This kicks off the whole Galactus thing. Actually, Johnny becomes a herald of Galactus, which is pretty cool. With the power cosmic, Torch is able to see people in a different light. And he's able to see Galactus' origin and understands what makes him tick. It's pretty cool. So at the end, you get, I guess, some Mark Waid stuff. These covers were, I believe, before Mark Waid's run that got him into wanting to work on the book because he was going to work with Mike. So you had these connecting covers. Like you had a Wizard magazine thing cover. This looks like it was a lenticular cover that you moved it and it went back and forth from Earth to Silver Surfer. That looks pretty cool. I would like to see that in person. You get sketches and behind the scenes, unused behind the scenes stuff. I believe that was a director's cut. And you get this cover gallery. Did I miss it already? With every Fantastic Four cover, like issues 1 to 500. And here it goes. That's pretty cool. Alright guys, so that's the recent reads on the Fantastic Four Omnibus by Mark Waid, Mike Wieringo. Happy that I knocked it out. Wasn't my favorite Fantastic Four run, but it wasn't a chore to read. It was alright. Again, I probably wouldn't recommend it. If someone said, what should I read Fantastic Four? I'm going to tell them Hickman every time. Or Stan Lee, start from the beginning. I still need to read the John Byrne. A lot of people say that that's their favorite Fantastic Four run, but I'm just so intimidated by those big, thick Bronze Age books, man. Anyway, happy to knock out a Marvel book. I'm kind of on a Marvel kick right now, man. I was doing a lot of DC New 52, although I do want to read the Flash New 52 Omnibus. I kind of got to knock out some of these Rebirth Deluxe editions so we can give them away. I was kind of thinking about knocking out a few quick Marvel ones, like the Hellstorm Omnibus, like the Hawkeye by Matt Fraction. Tuesday, I don't know what day this is being released, but that He-Man Masters of the Universe Omnibus comes in. I'm going to knock that out as soon as it comes in. So I want to read something kind of short in between there. Anyway, let me know what you thought about the review below. What do you think about the run if you read it? Make sure to hit the like on the way out. And subscribe to the channel for more recent reads along with other daily content. You guys stay minty fresh. Peace. All right, so this is after the credits. This is the little spoiler section. A couple things I wanted to talk about. So the Doom story arc is pretty cool. I mentioned in the Skyview that Franklin Richards was sent to the Hell Dimension by Dr. Doom. He kind of gets stuck in there for a minute, and he gets a little messed up in the head. You know, Thing and Torch were unable to save him, and they kind of let themselves down. They let the family down. Reed ends up banishing Doom to the Hell Dimension, but like right before he closes the portal, Doom like grabs his face and disfigures his face, gives him the Harvey Dent, right? And Reed starts acting really, really cold, man. Now with Doom gone, Latveria's got a power vacuum, and all the surrounding nations are trying to invade. So Reed comes through with Fantastic Four to kind of starve them back, but then he kind of becomes the new dictator of Latveria. And he kind of starts acting like a dictator, and nobody knows what his goals are or what his motivation is, but he's acting very cold. He even seems to sick the Doombots on Thing and Torch at one point as well. Now, what ends up happening here is that you realize that Reed is trying to push his family away so that he can basically put Doom in this little pocket dimension that he creates, and he can be Doom's warden forever. He knows that he can't let him out of his sight because he's always going to come after the Fantastic Four and their kids and all that. So he's going to sacrifice everything to just kind of keep an eye on him. So that backfires because the rest of the family, save Reed. But in the process, Thing gets killed. And it's pretty gruesome, man. Like, he's leaking all this kind of fluid. It looks like blood, but it looks like brown. And he dies, and Reed figures out, which I thought was pretty cool. Like, when you die, right? What is it, like 16 ounces? Or everybody loses a certain amount of mass, right? So he does this calculation and figures out that Ben Grimm went to the heaven dimension, right? So there's a hell, there's a heaven. So they go to heaven, and they're kind of at the pearly gates. They get attacked by, like, these flaming sword angels. And they end up meeting God. And it was kind of crazy, man. So they meet God, and God is Jack Kirby. Which makes sense, because Jack Kirby essentially created Fantastic Four. He's their creator, right? So they meet Jack Kirby. It's very like, what's it called? Grant Morrison-y, right? But, Mark Waid did it. Not Jack didn't draw himself as God. He's already been passed away, right, at this point. So that was pretty cool, and he explains to them, who they are and why they're important, and fixes Reed's face with a pencil and everything, and it was a pretty cool scene. I'm trying to think, any other spoilers? So the Galactus storyline, I don't know that there's really any spoilers in there. We knew Galactus' origin going in. We knew that Galactus doesn't look like a big purple guy. That's just how we perceive him. And from what I recall, other races see them as like a scroll, but he would look like a scroll to other scrolls, but he's really just energy. But what's cool is, like how Reed is able to switch powers between the Fantastic Four with this machine he built. He's able to remove the Galactus being from Gallon, who is the person who became a Galactus. So you have Gallon is looking like a regular dude walking around New York with Ben Grimm, and he still has this hunger. So he's eating mad hot dogs and stuff like that. And he ends up banishing himself, right? And the Galactus essence is still like floating around in the cosmos. It's always going to be searching for Gallon, but at the end of this run, it doesn't reconnect with him. So I don't know how they end up tying that together. But I guess that's it for the spoilers. Just a couple things I wanted to touch on, but I didn't want to spoil people who haven't read the book yet. So yeah, man. Thanks for watching. Peace.